Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. My name is Preacher Moss. I'm the host of the SOS The Shout Out Show. Hope that you're having a wonderful Monday. Want to give a shout out right off the top to Mama Son, my mom. She had a little problems this morning. Mom, we love you. We're giving you prayers and dua. She's recovering at Doctor's Hospital in Atlanta, Maryland. Hope you feel better. Love and duas are in the pipeline, as well as a couple of other folks. You know, I talked to you earlier today. Peace and blessings to all of you. So, brothers and sisters, I decided to do something. I'm trying to stay with this space. We're going to do some traditional things and some non-traditional things here in the month of Black History Month. Today, brothers and sisters, is something that was a cultural phenomenon. I don't feel like it's being covered enough. In fact, you literally can't find it in the history books today. We talk about Frederick Douglass and Susan B. Anthony and Malcolm X and Martin Luther King being etched out of the history books. Here's an event that happened in my lifetime, brothers and sisters. Last century, brothers and sisters, this thing happened and we're not really even talking about it. It is a shame, but today I thought I would shed some light on it because it is something that revolutionized the whole idea of what the image of black men, in particular in America, could be. What I'm talking about, brothers and sisters, is the Million Man March. Now, when I say that, I know people are going to have some, I want to say, what's the word, some flashbacks about the Million Man March. Maybe your father went, maybe you went, maybe your mom sent you, maybe your sister packed you a lunch. Brothers and sisters, this was probably one of the biggest culture events that happened since the March on Washington, where black men, now you can get out of this space about whether it's a million or not million, that's a media thing to me. I was there and it didn't matter if it was a million men. It was black men who showed up for a call to action. Now let me break this down. They showed up for a call to action. Atonement was the call to action. We were in the process that we were trying to redefine ourselves in the terms of we were self-subsisting. That the government was not going to do for us what it had promised. That this whole idea of America was a bit of a misnomer because we weren't given proper access to America. Let me tell you about 1995. Brothers and sisters, Clinton was in office, but employment was 11 to 12% for the black man. You hear what I'm saying? Incarceration was high, jobs were low, opportunities were darn near non-existent. But in the midst of this, one man, you know who I'm talking about, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, issued a call to action. Now, a lot of us are going to tell you, brothers and sisters, that when he called the Million Man March, a lot of us are like, he ain't going to get no million man. He's not going to get a million black men to show up on time in one place. There ain't no music playing. But something happened, brothers and sisters. Something, I want to say, sparked almost a Renaissance spirit whereby we galvanized around the power of black image and we put it in one spot. We put it in the Washington, D.C., which is the seat of the leader of the free world, and we sat and listened and we fellowshiped, and I'm here to tell you it was something amazing. So we're going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about the Million Man March. I got some clips. I'm going to take us back. Please stick with us. The Million Man March here on the Shout Out Show. I'm Preacher Moss. Let's get rolling.
We just need help.
Imagine if there wasn't an olive branch. Most of the family services at your command. The people who help people have to say, we need your donations, don't delay. We all have struggles from time to time. But leaders dedicated is what you find. Before another person sheds a tear. Support Olive Branch, you don't have to fear. Olive Branch Muslim Family Services. Action you can see, compassion you can feel. Sing it with me. Ooh, ooh. All right, we're back. So let me lay the scene for you. It was fall, October of 1995. Now you can kind of sit back and figure out what you were doing in 1995. Let me tell you what I was doing. Alhamdulillah, I was still in my 20s. I was in my second year of teaching in Milwaukee public school system. And this whole idea of the Million Man March began to percolate. Now, there was a lot of controversy. The ADL didn't want anybody but Farrakhan to lead this National March of Black Men on Atonement. There were a lot of threats and people who pulled out sponsorship money. The funny story I always remember Minister Sharif Muhammad talking about he had to meet every bit of law enforcement, armed services in the United States darn near to get this thing off and going. That's how much of a threat it was. And then it was the thing, brothers and sisters, that a million men could show up. A million men, black men, could dedicate themselves to come from all over the country. This is not like I'm talking about the March on Washington. We're not talking about that. This is a situation of atonement. They were talking about how do we self-heal. You know, the March on Washington was like, we're hurt. Now it's like, years later, it's like, how do we heal? We're going to heal together. This is going to be a little bit, if you will, a coalition of how we do for self. And to the credit of the speakers, and I mean they had some wonderful speakers. They had Sister Rosa Parks, Sister Maya Angelou came, Stevie Wonder sang, Jesse Jackson spoke. They had a young guy that did some spoken word. I can't remember his name. He was phenomenal, brothers and sisters. I mean, they had Dr. Aleem Muhammad, and of course they had the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. They had Ben Chavis. They had Reverend Al Sharpton. And also had Dick Gregory, by the way. But we'll get to that in a minute. But the point, brothers and sisters, is that they issued a challenge that had not been issued. And the idea of 1 million black men coming to Washington, D.C., not even the United States, 1 million black men coming to Washington, D.C. Here it is on a Monday, not a Saturday, a Sunday, a Friday. It wasn't a weekend thing. You had to dedicate yourself. Come on a Monday. Now, I remember being in Milwaukee. There was some rumblings about going. And one of my partners is going to be on the show, my little brother, JT. JT actually was with me, and we had a conversation about going to the Million Man March back in 1995. It actually happened on his birthday, as a matter of fact. So there were rumblings, brothers and sisters, about us going. And we decided that we were going to go. It was myself, JT, and another young man named Bo, who wound up being a medical doctor. But it was the idea that on the ride down, we began to see more and more black men headed towards Washington, D.C. In the conversation that you would normally not have because you didn't know him, we now had a common purpose. And we would sit and talk about going to the march. Hear what I'm saying now? People you don't know, we are encouraging every brothers and sisters. We are developing a new sense of pride. And the thing that may get lost in translation, is the amount of women, brothers and sisters, that help pull this march off. Who are ambassadors all over the country, making sure that black men got to where they were supposed to be. Organizing buses, organizing meetings, having volunteers. You know, it wasn't happening without them, but it happened with their blessing. So mothers were sending their sons off, wives were sending their husbands off, sisters were packing lunches for their brothers, going there, saying, "Go do that, be a part of this atonement, brothers and sisters." And it's funny because the idea of atonement scared a lot of people, because in America they don't know about atonement. The black man said, "I'm going to atone for me. I'm not going to atone to you." It is a different type of verbiage that was being shared. Now, I don't want to get too far. I want to get some people here in the comment section. Let's go ahead and welcome in the Shout Out Show family, Satana. Who we got? I know we got Sister Ree. What's going on? Sister Ree says, hello, family. Wa alaikum. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Sister Ree. Thanks so much for the meal. I appreciate it. I wasn't on my game. I was on the phone trying to handle some stuff, but I appreciate it. As always, the meal looks scrumptious. Shout out to Sister Ree, Derek, and of course, Brother Jawan. Next up, my sidekick to the Million Man March, my beloved brother JT, better known as Johnny L. Thomas, who took the trip. He decided to forego his own birthday to be a part of the Million Man March. I'm so glad he is on the show today because we drove from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, direct to Washington, D.C. And we met people. Because it wasn't just people, my dearly departed brother, may Allah be pleased with the Reginald Kitchen. We sat at his house and talked about what this meant. My father was with us, Bo was with us, JT was with us, and we talked about this momentous moment. And we were like soldiers going off to war. It was the most spiritually uniting thing I've ever been a part of. You know, I haven't done it in a long time. I think the only thing that might come close to that would be going to Hajj. But this was my Hajj before Hajj. Okay, next up. Got Sister Salima Mujahid. What's going on? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to you, Sister Mujahid. Doing good things down there in the state of North Carolina, Charlotte in particular. Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate you. Next up, we got Altaf Rashid. Altaf, my beloved brother. Hey, did you hear about the Million Man March in Toronto back in 95, Altaf? Think hard, man. But while you're thinking, let me give you salams. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. Thank you so much for joining the show, Mr. 6 o'clock, our Canadian ambassador to the show, Altaf Rashid. Next up, Bilal Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Bilal. Thank you so much for coming on the show and joining us. Shout out to you and Sister Dalton. Bilal, did you go to the Million Man March? Holla, let me know. Next up, Sister Aika. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you very much. Yes, we do need to be reminded to have a good Monday and be blessed that we actually have an actual Monday, brothers and sisters. Sister Aika, all the way from Depok, Indonesia. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Shout out and blessings to your family. Next up. All right. We got Brother Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Eric. Thank you so much for joining the show. We appreciate you. Next up. All right, we got Brother Mark Candidate. Mark, I believe you went to the Million Man March. I'm pretty sure you did. We're talking about it. Make sure you throw your comment in the section because I'm not gonna go too deep today, but I'm gonna let some of the archives speak for us. Because I was just saying is that, you know, the Million Man March is not even being covered. I asked a young person. I said, "You remember the Million Man March? Have you heard of it?" And they were like, "No." Then I had to show them the video. They were like, "Oh, that happened." This is why it's important. Mark, thank you so much for joining the show. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. JT, October 16th. I said it was your birthday. And spent that. That's right. With your brother. Spend it with your brother. And shout out to Bo. Bo's a good brother. But on a road trip, you can't take Bo with you because Bo got to go to the bathroom every 14 minutes. So I threw that out there. That's wrong. All right, Bo, shout out to you. Okay. Let me set this thing right. We got Sister Marsha Nivens. What's going on? Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Nish. From Jersey. What part of Jersey, Sister Marsha? Let us know what part of Jersey. Because for Satana is from, I don't know where she's from in Jersey. She just said Jersey. But thank you so much for joining us on the show. 3 generations of our man attended. All right. That's what we're talking about. And we got Sister Anisha Nadir. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sister Anisha. And, of course, we have our consultant producer. That will be Ms. Tana Whitfield, working the ones and twos in the back of the production studio. Thank you so much, Sister Tana. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Let me show you some coverage from 1995 as we begin this discussion. Satana, can you roll it, please?
Good evening from Washington, where the heart of the Capitol has been filled today with African-American men, a huge crowd. Hundreds of thousands, young and old, from all corners of the country, here to participate in ceremonies of celebration, atonement, protest. Here to be praised and challenged by black preachers and politicians, poets and entertainers. At the end of the day, a long, passionate, and confrontational speech from the controversial leader of this march, Minister Louis Farrakhan of the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan spoke beyond this audience, directly challenging President Clinton. We begin tonight with NBC's Robert Hager.
They poured off buses from Baltimore, Richmond, Syracuse, Norfolk, and all across the country. By midday, they filled the Washington Mall, from the U.S. Capitol all the way to the Washington Monument, a stunning sight. They heard from scores of black leaders and from the poet Maya Angelou. And at day's end, they heard from the man who called them here, Louis Farrakhan.
But the real evil in America is not white flesh or black flesh. The real evil in America is the idea that undergirds the setup of the Western world. And that idea is called white supremacy.
Then Farrakhan talked directly to President Clinton.
We are a wounded people, but we're being healed. But President Clinton, America is also wounded. And there's hostility now in the great divide between the people. Socially, the fabric of America is being torn apart. And it's black against black, black against white, white against white, white against black, yellow against brown, brown against yellow. We are being torn apart. And we can't gloss it over with nice speeches, my dear Mr. President.
So, what I want people to understand is this. Farrakhan is very, very intelligent. And I'm going to tell you why. Because he put the onus of black expression in terms of all these problems that we were looking at in 1995, and he framed it in a question. And that question was, literally, how do you want to see yourself moving forward? The idea of the black image of the African American was being crushed all over the place. We were derelict, we were barbaric, we were breeding children all over the place. Somehow we were morally inept and, of course, socially irresponsible for the things that we did. We were taking a beating, brothers and sisters. But the call to action, if you ever see the clip where he says, I'm calling for 1 million black men. Of course, a lot of black men were going, did he say 1 million? He said 1 million, brothers and sisters, but the shrewdness of the statement was he knew that 1 million black men coming to Washington, D.C. was going to be nothing compared to all the people who were going to watch this situation unfold around the world. And there were a lot of people that pulled out. There are a lot of black folk I won't mention who kind of cowtailed. They sold out. They didn't want to come. They were last minute speakers and didn't show up. But my point, brothers and sisters, is that now you have an example of the power of black thought and black intellectual prowess. Because everybody that came to the march was not in the Nation of Islam. Everybody that came to the march was not Muslim. But the idea of atonement is something that we've never talked about, particularly in an open space. Let me tell you about this. 1 million men. There was no trash left. There was no fights. There was no disrespecting the women. There was one guy who lit a joint, and he looked around, and he was like, I'm putting this out. There were debates, if you will, but they weren't arguments. Even in the back of all that, I remember being with JT, and there was two brothers, one Sunni brother and one NOI brother, talking about Akita and correct Islam, and somebody just had to stop and say, man, do you know why we're here? We're not here for that. And it immediately broke the space. So we're going to be coming back, brothers and sisters. In fact, let's go ahead and take this commercial break, and we'll be right back. This is Preacher Moss talking about the Million Man March. Be right back. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear Don't Get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID, put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe in your your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID, you need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID, go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now is the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
Shout out to Convenient Urgent Care. So listen, brothers and sisters, I was talking about this whole idea, and I think the one thing I don't want to leave out, I might have been remiss and left it out a little bit. You have to look at a movement. This is legitimately the last movement that was in mass, that had the approval of black men, a lot of black women, black children. I don't understand. I don't think people understand the visualization, the visual of black men coming together, because we are recognizing that we need correction. 2, we need to evolve. Number 3, we need to be a lot more responsible for those around us in our particular space, not so much the government. Okay, it wasn't a down whitey speech or anything like that, which was the genius of it. We actually got to talk about us. So I'm going to throw a clip up. I hope you enjoy this one. This is my mentor, Mr. Dick Gregory, who gave a very, very special speech at the Million Man March. Can we roll it, please?
This next brother who's going to come forward to us is a brother who was a comedian. And he made a decision in his life by the time of the Birmingham movement, in the civil rights movement, that he would no longer perform in places that serve alcohol, in places where people smoke cigarettes. He atoned as an elder long before we did. We have a great deal to learn from this giant of human rights. He is our brother, our elder, our Baba, the man, Dick Gregory, ladies and brothers, Dick Gregory, brother Dick Gregory.
Thank you. God bless you, black men. God bless you, black men. I love you, black men. I love you. I love you. As of 10 o'clock this morning, we reached 1 million black men. That means, as of 10 o'clock this morning, 1 million black women knew where their husbands was. Why are we here today? We're here today because we are in pain. And we come to share our pain and drop our pain. They tell us about jail, but what few of us know that over 30% of those in jail on probation are black men, 5% black women, 7% white men, 1% white women. Homicide, every 100,000, 72% homicide black men, 14% homicide black women, 9% homicide white men, 3% homicide white women. Unemployment, black men 12%, black women 11%, white men 5%, white women 5%. It's about our pain. And so I say to you today, as we go back home, the difference between this march in 95 and when we came in 63, we were dealing with a physical problem. We were dealing with signs that say we can't do this. We destroyed those signs thanks to the civil rights movement, and now we dealing with a mental problem and an economic problem. And I say we leave here with a changed mindset, and that mindset have to be about love. We have gone from prime time, no more crime time. This is prime time. I love you. God bless you. Go back home and take care of the family, your family, our family, God's family. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Baba Dick Gregory. Baba Dick.
You know, even though Dick Gregory was funny, I mean, just the poignancy. This gives you a little bit of the flavor of what we were all seeing, but it wasn't just me. It wasn't just JT. It was 1 million black men. This is the largest classroom that's ever been assembled in terms of manhood, responsibility, and atonement that's ever going to happen, brothers and sisters. Like I said, literally the only thing that comes comparable to it, of course, would be Hajj. So we have one more video, and I want to show this video because it's a little bit of a reflection. Even now, in 2022, I still remember that vibe of 1995. And in many regards, it does harken to the fact that I do feel out of place, like a lot of brothers that went there, because the expectations were so high when we left there. Whether it's a Trump, or whether it's a Trump or not, or Bush or not, we were, by any stretch of the imagination, we were self-defined. And if there's anything you're going to get out of this space, brothers and sisters, that we as African Americans, African American Muslims, women, men, we have to get back to the place where we are self-defined. Literally. You got Minister Farrakhan talking about white supremacy. The thing about not buying into white supremacy is to do so, brothers and sisters, lessens your moral caliber. Because the people who practice white supremacy are not people of high character, or high mental wellness or aptitude. They are people who are in the lowest spaces. And to buy into it and try to figure it out, I just leave you alone. We ain't going down. We're trying to go up. Let's roll this video, Sister Satana. I'll be right back after this. Go ahead, Sister Satana. Thank you so much.
The march's most prominent organizer was Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam. Farrakhan was deeply attuned to the struggles of Black America, but the solutions he offered were surprisingly familiar.
We'll strive to improve myself.
He urged Black men to change their behavior and atone for their failings.
Socially, for the benefit of myself, my family, and my people.
The biggest surprise for me was that the message was not down whitey, critique the system as much as it was individual atonement, individual responsibility. Help me to understand that. I think that surprised a lot of people around the country.
In that particular moment, the sense of atonement was very real for a lot of us because we realized as young men that there were some of the trappings of materialism and violence of American society had gotten to us. And we had lost a lot of our friends. We had lost relatives to some of that violence.
We had internalized racism. Our people had internalized the way we were being treated.
Absolutely. And the way that we were being depicted in the media and the way that we were being depicted in the music.
We are here! We are here!
I was at the Million Man March. I respect the Nation of Islam values to bring Black men back to their families, to stop this killing in these communities, to stop the disrespect of women, and to really find and claim our place in America.
So, brothers, and that's Brother Armstrong William, who is a Black conservative of heights of which you cannot even imagine. But he was saying, I respect this thing. So listen, we hope you enjoyed the show. I'm going to go ahead and get to our wrap up because I know everybody has things to do. Please, brothers and sisters, if you're joining the show for the first time, hit the subscribe button. We're going to get our subscribers up. I know I haven't said it a lot. I know, Satana, don't be saying that. I know I haven't said it a lot, but I want to make sure we start growing the podcast. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to our sponsors. We want to give a shout out to of course, BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. Again, that's BeFinanciallyIndependent.com. You can call 202-508-3780. Again, that's 202-508-3780. Check them out. And brothers and sisters, if you're thinking about getting a quality graduate level Islamic education, look no further than Bayan Islamic Graduate School in Claremont, California. Again, that's bayanonline.org, bayanonline.org. Check them out. And our newest partner, brothers and sisters, we want to give a shout out to Us Hub TV. Again, that's Us Hub TV, who's actually celebrating Black History Month. Make sure you get over there and get that discount coupon. They have a lot of content. They have yours truly over there on the comedy side, but they got great documentaries. I would encourage everybody to go over there and build them up too, because they're really trying to take special attention and try to highlight us as African American Muslims and Muslims in general. So make sure you tune into that, okay? And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to, of course, Convenient Urgent Care. That's convenient.urgent.com. Again, that's convenienturgent.com. Thank you guys so much for supporting us, our platform. Brothers and sisters, it has been a great show. I know it went quickly, but I want you to do some research. Get on your phones or your Amazon or your Google and just Google, please. Some of the things that we've shown and some of the things you're going to learn on your own about the Million Man March. I'm Preacher Moss. This is SOS. Have a blessed day. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Well, family, that's it for our show today. One of the reasons I felt compelled to make this video, because I noticed when an event is over, Muslims don't know when to leave. So if you're sitting there in front of your television, you're going, that was fun, that was enjoyable, what do I do now? This is me telling you to leave. You know why? Because the show is over. I already left. I taped this before I made it. So you have permission to leave. And you also have permission to come back. To the Shout Out Show, we are Monday through Thursday. Again, that's 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central, and of course on the West Coast, 3 o'clock. So we want to thank you for coming on the show, my brothers and sisters. And guess what? This is yet another exercise for you to leave, because I'm out of here. Later.